On the eve of this weekend's Canadian Football Championship, Saskatchewan fans might want to paraphrase Mark Twain. The report of their team's death was an exaggeration. Despite predictions of their demise, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have surprised everybody, except maybe their fans, by earning a spot in the Grey Cup against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. To get to this game has been a long uphill battle for the Roughriders and their loyal fans. The Journal's Kevin Tibbles reports on what keeps Rider pride alive. Oh, and if you're a Hamilton fan, we ask you to bear with us.
Rider pride! Rider pride! Rider pride! Rider pride! Rider pride! Rider pride!
The temperature's well below zero and the wind is blowing, no doubt, from the northwest. But the Rider Priders, as they're called in this province, are out to send the green and white of Saskatchewan to the Grey Cup for the first time in 13 years. Soon these football pilgrims will be piling on board planes or buses bound for Toronto or warming up the family television. Rider pride is religion in Saskatchewan. This is where the Saskatchewan Roughriders play their football. It's not a dome or some stadium with a big TV screen. It's a field, Taylor Field, and it seats just over 27,000 people. But it's home to one of the most unlikely survival stories in a football league that seems to be in need of a survival kit. You see, this team wasn't supposed to live. A couple of years ago, it was over $1 million in debt and hadn't made the playoffs in a decade. They said there just weren't enough people out here on the prairies to support a team that could compete with the big cities. They were wrong.
Don't wrinkle that Rough Riders. It's brand new, you know.
They won it once back in 1966, and they're not about to forget it. Gord and Donna Hassler were just kids on the farm back then. Now they've got a farm and kids of their own in Windthorst, about an hour and a half out of Regina. On this night, they're packing up for the 30-hour bus ride that'll take them to Toronto. Gord's making sure he doesn't miss this game like he did the last one.
I was busy milking the cow when they won the Grey Cup, and when I got back in, the game was all over.
You missed it.
So I'm going to want to see all of this one. You bet, I'm going.
Huey Campbell goes wide to the far side.
While Gord Hassler was out in the barn, the Green Riders were out defeating their namesakes from Ottawa.
For Campbell, touchdown!
At long last, victory for Saskatchewan. The hero, Ron Lancaster.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ron Lancaster.
It was a game that saw a kid with a crew cut from Pennsylvania pull one out of the fire for the folks on the prairie, Ronnie Lancaster. Lancaster remained north of the border when he stopped playing the Canadian game. Now he broadcasts it.
I don't think the rest of the league really understand just what the Rough Riders mean in Saskatchewan. There's no way that club would ever die. There's too many people there that volunteer, that live and die with the Riders at Taylor Field.
Back in '66, when the Rough Riders tasted champagne for the very first time, Sandy Archer was there as the trainer. In all, he was with the club 30 years.
This is everybody's team, whether it's Saskatoon, Regina, Parkbeg, you name it, all the little towns, Saskatchewan, this is their team, and that's what sets them apart from almost any team in Canada.
When the Rough Riders called out for help, they said, "Trust us." And a network of supporters from the far reaches of the province went to work.
4-yard loss, Ham over the top, picked off.
People of all ages got involved in auction sales, dinners, and telethons. Season's ticket sales rose from 13,000 a couple of years ago to 19,000 this year. Families came together to help a neighbor in hard times, and Gord Hassler, he decided it was high time he got involved.
There was some talk about the Riders collapsing, and I felt that maybe I should start investing in the future. I might want to watch a game 5 years down the road or 10, and what about the kids? They might want to watch professional football in Saskatchewan too.
It's one thing to live out in the country and say you support a team. It's another thing to hop in the car and drive 4 or 8 hours and then put on a snowmobile suit to watch them play. But that's the way it's done out here. And every Sunday, the traffic winds its way down the highway to Taylor Field. When the team isn't playing, the Riders supporters hang out in cafes like Smilin' Bill's in Estevan, 2.5 hours away.
Riders are Canada's team. Yeah. Well, I think you'll see that whole stadium, like 90% of it in white and green and white. They're just going to be yelling their heads off.
They're the underdogs.
and people just support them. It's the one unifying force in Saskatchewan. You know, we're pretty polarized when it comes to politics and one thing or another. But when it comes to Rough Riders, they all pull together.
Ian McDougall has sat in the same seat at Taylor Field for 31 years. He remembers the days when farmers were so poor they had to strike a prairie-style bargain just to get in and see a game.
The people didn't have the money, so they made a deal with farmers that they could bring in their wheat, so many bags of wheat or so many bushels, and trade it for season tickets. And then the Rough Riders turned around and they resold the wheat to either the wheat board or they sold it to hog farmers or what have you.
You wouldn't see that happening in a big city, I don't think, anyway.
Well, it was the most amazing thing you ever saw in your life.
Droughts come and go, on the farm and in football. But people out here have learned how to be patient with all the changes that come from living off the land. Maybe that's why the fans have hung in where others would have given up.
You know, the farmers can have bad times, you know, what the weather can be bad, everything can go wrong, but if the Saskatchewan Rough Riders win, it has a positive effect on the entire province.
I suppose it's like the farmers, it's next year country. Can't win it this year, boy, we're going to do it next year. They're always full of hope.
Loaded down with rider pride, busloads bursting with green and white are headed for Sunday's game. Just to make sure the country knows that Gord and Donna Hassler and the rest of Saskatchewan are still out there. They may be always looking ahead to next year, but when it comes to football, next year is now. For the Journal, I'm Kevin Tibbles in Regina.